Take two. So, you guys got to experience it with me. this this is what I've been going through. Yeah, this is what I've been going through. So you can see why I need a new computer. Because after it did that, there will be nothing in the crash logs, no error logs, no nothing. It just shut off. Just powered off. Turn it back on. Wait for it to boot up, and I can start again. But there's going to be a little downtime every time that happens, and I assume that I'll probably lose some people along the way. Like, I just got started talking to a new guy who just showed up to the channel. You know, that could have potentially been interested in what we were doing here and subscribed and all that. And who knows if he'll come back now. Yeah, there's nothing in the crash logs, nothing in the error logs. I've changed the power supply, so it's not the power supply. Um, Something I believe is shorting somewhere on something, either the motherboard or video card or RAM. Something is shorting somewhere, and it's intermittent. And when it happens, it just kills the whole thing. And it would take way more effort and time than it would be worth, and potentially money, to try to track down why it's doing it. No, but I did check the temperature ratings on everything, and nothing's getting hot, man. It's never getting hot. That's why I believe there's an intermittent short somewhere on one of the boards. And again, that could be the motherboard, it could be it could be the RAM, it could be the video card. And I mean, the video card was a brand new video card, because it was I went out and purchased it uh, after Red Light was so gracious to send me this machine. But the thing I keep in mind is this machine's been on the trash pile once. Yeah, I may have to go about, you know, just unplugging and plugging some stuff. But I mean, I checked that everything was solidly connected when I put the new power supply back in. I just kind of went through and made sure all the boards and everything were seated good, and all the RAM was seated good, and everything was locked down nice and tight. Um, so yeah, uh, again, I need a new computer, and it's happening soon. And if it keeps aggravating me this way, I'll pull the trigger on something that's less of a machine than I want, but something I can get quicker. Um, there's a machine with a Ryzen 5 in it that I can get for like $600 right now, and I could go buy it today. Don't have to wait for the royalty payment on that. So um, I'm tempted. The CPU in this is it's an old AMD A6. Dual core A6. And then the graphics card, because I didn't want to put a lot of money into it, I cheaped out. I bought a $50. It was a Radeon R5 220. It was only $50, brand new at Best Buy. So I did cheap out on the graphics card, but it was a 2 gig card, which was better than the 1 gig of onboard video RAM I had, and also doesn't take from my RAM anymore because it's not sharing with the video. Yeah, I thought about building one, and that may still be an option, but anymore because of component prices, you can't build one, even a low end one, for what you can buy them off the shelf. Later, Ben. Yeah, I'll enjoy the rest of my stream, I guess, as long as the computer holds up. So yeah, that Terry guy that I started to talk to before the stream crashed, looks like we lost him. He didn't come back. Oh, so hopefully we hold on today, um, and make it through at least more of the stream. Because what, we were 30 minutes in, maybe 25 minutes in, wasn't very long. And again, the other thing that doesn't point towards like heat being the issue or anything, it's it's done the power off thing when it's just had the screensaver on, like both the monitors were shut off. I wasn't even sitting in the chair touching the mouse or keyboard or anything. I'd just be in the room and hear it shut off. No programs open except for Chrome, and there's no way it was overloading and heating up under that. I mean, you shouldn't be drawing more than in like sleep mode or whatever like that. You shouldn't be drawing more than literally a few watts from the power supply, and no processes running, so there's no load on anything. Yeah, well, it isn't. It's an old computer. But yeah, I priced out because I saw I could get an AMD FX chip, one of the Black Edition FX chips, which isn't a bad processor. And I saw one on sale on Newegg for like $60. And so I went, if I decided to, I mean, that would do what I needed to do. It would. So I'm like, so I priced out putting the rest of the components together that I would need. And the rest of the components that I needed, it still came up to like $700. And like I said, I can go buy that Ryzen 5 today for $600 off the shelf. It's an HP. Okay. Well, after the stream, I'm gonna take the box apart again, and I plan on pulling every single card off the motherboard, checking it, and reseating it. And so I'll do the eraser trick on the RAM. I've heard of that before. Before I put it back in, make sure the contacts are clean. But yeah, I could go buy that Ryzen 5 machine today for $600, and it's got a 4 gig graphics card in it, and the only thing that was holding me off, it's only 8 gigs of RAM. But I'm like, well, $600, I could when I do get my royalty payment in, go buy another 8 gigs of RAM and take it up to 16 and still not have any money in it. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind, D. I mean, like I said, I used to build these things, and I worked at a company for years that you know, I would do the bench repairs on their computers. I was a web developer for the company, but all the techs were out on calls, and so people would drop computers off at the office, and I would do the bench repairs on them. In between working on websites, because we were a very small company, and um, that was a way for me to make a few extra bucks. If I would do the bench repair, he would pay me for the bench repair on top of my salaried income, which was not good. My salaried income as the lead web developer was $12 an hour on a 40-hour week, and I would work 70 and 80-hour weeks most of the time, and get calls on weekends and vacations and everything else that I would have to stop what I was doing, open up my laptop, and work on somebody's website while I was on vacation, while I was on, day off, whatever. Didn't matter. So a way for me to supplement my income was, he'd give me the technician's repair salary on doing the bench repairs on computers. So, I mean, I used to, if there was one there and I was stuck on something on the web, I'd walk away from it and go do a bench repair on a computer and then come back and continue plowing forward with the website. But, so, I mean, I know my way around this stuff. I'm not an expert or anything, but that's why it irritates me. I mean, I'm like, I know it's something, but in order to, and I don't have a huge pile of parts laying around anymore. I used to, before we moved to Tennessee, I had boxes and boxes full of parts that I had scavenged off of stuff and things like that I could swap some stuff out and just see what was, swap this out. Okay, it's not doing it anymore. Okay, that was the culprit. Go buy a new, better than what I pulled out of my parts box part and swap it back in and be up and running again. But I don't have that luxury anymore. All right, back to the screen share. Chat pull back up. So you can see this has been probably part of my creative funk as well, is when I do sit down and work on something, and this is doing this more and more frequently. It's gotten to the point where it seldom makes it more than an hour or two without doing it, without the power just dying. So I'm constantly having to save, which is a good habit to be in anyway, but constantly having to save, and even constantly saving, it's not uncommon for me to lose 15-20 minutes worth of work because it just shut off in the middle of what I was doing and I hadn't hit save in 15-20 minutes. And anybody who's ever designed anything and forgot to save it and lost it knows the second time you come back, while it's easier because you know what you did and you know what you want to do, it's also hard to get the motivation going to do it. Made a little bit of progress, started working on a roll-up door for the big truck. And then I've got all sorts of stuff in the works. And of course, there's the dumpster, and what do we got there? The gas pump, and the traffic barriers. And those of y'all who've seen this armor before. You know, I need to get back into making some more of that stuff. And, you know, because it's FDM printable. It doesn't look the best in FDM. It would look better in SLA. But, you know, a little action figure accessories and things like that. And the beautiful part is these things are, because they're so small, they take no time at all to print. In fact, I ought to put this up for, slice this and put this up for, or not slice it, but save out the STLs again and put this up for my Patreon folks. I don't know if any of them have action figures that they'd want to put them on, but I had these. They just slide over the character's fists. And then I have helmets that I've been working, that I've, you know, completed. Oh, the helmets are out here. One of the helmets. And they snap fit really well over the G.I. Joe's head. They're, again, these things, the beauty about the helmets is they take like 11, 12 minutes to print at 0.1 layer height. And then for all this kind of stuff, I make a blank so that I have a blank canvas to start with. And I save the blank. And then, because I do all my test fitting with the blank. And there's the printed out blank. I do all my test fitting with the blank.